All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Wednesday. You know, since our producer doesn't always tell me the guest we have on tomorrow, I'm going to invite Jason Stein in studio right now. If he's not in the restroom going number 2, I'm going to invite Jason in studio to tell us some of the special guests that we have planned for tomorrow on the show, because we do have some big guests tomorrow. Obviously, we're covering this impeachment. It's already I hate to call it the impeachment. It's not really it's the Senate trial. So we have some very special guests that are going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. Jason, why don't you tell us who we got?
Hopefully, J.D. Sharp will be joining us on the show tomorrow. That would be a very special guest.
Yeah, my co-host. That'd be nice.
Hopefully, he gets his black mold issues resolved and comes back in. But no, we got a big show tomorrow, Brian. I don't know if you know about this thing called SHOT. This SHOT convention. It's a big gun convention that's going on here in Las Vegas this week. We've arranged to have the state director of the NRA, Dan Reed, will be joining us tomorrow, so that'll be good. We're also going to talk a little bit about another big thing happening in Vegas, the NFL draft.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the porn expo.
No, we're going to get to that, too. In fact, we're going right after the show. We're going to try to round up some guests for that. You're right. We got a big week for AVN. We talked about that. So, yeah, we'll do something with that. We're going to talk guns. We're going to talk NFL draft coming in April. Yesterday, we learned a lot about the plans. They're going to be having this thing at the Bellagio, and they're going to have players. The picks are going to be on a boat, and they're going to be driven to a stage. So that's going to be a big extravaganza. We're going to have Lawrence Weekly on. He's on the Clark County Commission. He actually went to Nashville last year when they had the draft there. And
I'm glad he did that.
And kind of observed and talked to people, took some notes to bring back and apply it to Vegas, so he can talk about what to expect, what some of the pros and cons are going to be of having the draft here. We're also hoping to talk to another Clinton, I just got to get a time nailed down, but another Clinton impeachment manager, Bill McCollum, representative from Florida, was also... as you know, we had earlier today, we had an impeachment manager, Judge James Rogan. Well, this guy was right there, too, with a front row seat to history, and he's agreed to come on. So no shortage of big topics and guests tomorrow.
And tomorrow's Thursday, so we might be having Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports joining us.
Or maybe Dirty Dining with Darcy Spears.
That's
we
right.
usually have her, but we
right.
have to shuffle some things.
You got to shuffle.
These things might spill over to Friday, because there's just too much good stuff going on.
The life of a producer, you got to shuffle.
It never ends.
You got to shuffle some things. So my understanding, you have been in contact with Emily Saul from the New York Post.
Yeah.
And the reason why we were going to have her on is because she's in the courtroom right now covering Michael Avenatti's Nike trial. I believe the pre-trial proceedings have begun, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, right. They're just trying to figure out when it's going to proceed, what date, and what the rules are going to be, and it's probably very similar to this Senate impeachment crap that we're watching. But Emily, she's been very good about getting back to me. She's a New York Post writer. She's been covering Avenatti all week long, and since his move to New York and the jail conditions he's been held under there in Manhattan. She said, I didn't expect that my day would be going on 4.5 hours. She's been in court for 4.5 hours for this Avenatti hearing, so she probably isn't going to be able to pop on today, but we'll touch base with her in the future, and we'll read her article afterwards. I'm sure we'll have a better idea of what's going to happen with Michael in New York.
4.5 hours in the courtroom is a little better than 24/7 solitary confinement. That's what Michael Avenatti is having to deal with right now. I wanted to talk to you about that.
And I'm reading up on that jail, by the way. There have been many, many articles. Sorry to interrupt, but many, many articles written about this MCC in Lower Manhattan. I mean, it looks just like a very normal building in Lower Manhattan, and then inside, what the stories that are coming out of there from people who've been held there are just awful. Freezing conditions, bugs.
Let me start from the beginning.
Rodent infestation. So anyway,
let's talk about that. But let me start from the beginning. Obviously, Michael Avenatti, former attorney, Stormy Daniels. He's been doing our show every week for 6 months. He's been in studio, I think, a dozen times. And during those visits, there have been some times where we've grabbed a bite, we've gone to dinner. I've gotten a chance to know him a little bit more. And in the time I've gotten to know Michael Avenatti, here's what I'll say about him to start. He's not stupid. He's a smart guy. He's very successful. And he's a fighter, and he says what's on his mind, and sometimes that can get you into trouble. I can relate to that. Trust me. Now, I've said this, and I'm going to be very consistent on Michael. And I'll put it this way. He's been going after some of the most powerful companies and the most powerful people in the world. Nike is arguably a $100 billion company, and maybe it's more than that. Okay, Phil Knight is worth $40 billion. If you're going to go after those types of companies, and you're going to go after the president of the United States, and this happened way before he was president, you have to make sure there are no skeletons in your closet. Now, I don't know if Michael Avenatti broke the law. I've had plenty of private conversations with him that I am not going to share publicly. With that being said, I think anyone who is a Michael Avenatti supporter has reason to feel worried for a lot of different reasons. He has never been convicted of a crime, and that is very important to state. And many of the people that are bashing Michael Avenatti, many, not all, but many, are the right-wing bias hacks that are Donald Trump supporters. Many of the people that are attacking Michael Avenatti are the same people that keep quiet when Donald Trump bragged about sexual assault, when Donald Trump went after John McCain, when Donald Trump goes after a woman based on her looks. They keep quiet, right? When you hear those things, they keep quiet. But when it comes to Michael Avenatti, an attorney that they don't like because of his political beliefs, perhaps, or because of the fact that they went after his beloved Donald Trump, that's when they decide to attack. Tucker Carlson, Fox News, who I believe is a complete coward, now all of a sudden wants to interview Michael Avenatti, but he only did one interview with Michael Avenatti a long time ago. And he hasn't invited him back since. Again, I don't know if Michael Avenatti is guilty of a crime. I really don't. I have absolutely no idea. Here's what I do know. We've learned that he's been put in 24/7 solitary confinement. And what his attorney has said is temperatures in the mid-40s. We've learned that he only gets one social call per month, not per week, not per day, per month. We've learned that he's in the same cell that was utilized by El Chapo. We've learned through his attorneys that they're not able to go over discovery with him. They're not able to defend their client to the best of their abilities. Now, these are white-collar crimes. Now, some white-collar crimes are serious. I understand that. Is he really a detriment to society and a threat to society? All the people that they put on probation? And you're telling me that Michael Avenatti is a threat to society? Don't you tell me this has nothing to do with Nike. Don't you tell me this has nothing to do with Trump and the Attorney General. Of course it does. He went after the most powerful people in the world, and he said it himself on this show that he was flying too close to the sun.
And you know also what came out, the warden of that jail, Brian, said the reason he's being held under that strict 24/7 is because of his notoriety, and it's for his own safety. Now, you may know this is the same jail where Jeffrey Epstein was murdered / killed himself. Mm-hmm. We don't exactly know. So maybe it is for his own protection. Now, I think that they are going to ease up on him as his trial moves forward, because he's got to be able to talk to his lawyers and adequately prepare his legal case. Now, by the way, I did just get some information from Emily Saw from the New York Post, who's in the courtroom. She said the jury selection will begin Monday.
Okay.
Monday. That's a big thing that came out.
Well, I can tell you right now where Michael Avenatti is completely screwed. If you've got 8 or 9 people on that jury that wear their MAGA hats every day that are Trump supporters, he's done. He's done. You have to find people that are independent, not even Democrats. Their political affiliation is so important. It has nothing to do with race, and it has everything to do with their political affiliation. Because you're telling me you can find me a Trump supporter, a strong Trump supporter on that jury who would find Michael Avenatti innocent? No chance. I think it is going to be very tough for him to get a fair trial.
Well, people like Tucker Carlson have been, every single time he's in the news for something negative, they've been just dancing on his grave.
Yeah.
So anyone who watches Fox News and likes Fox News and agrees with the hosts, in my mind, they're a tainted juror. Now, I hope that Avenatti's attorneys, I'm sure they're smarter than me. I'm sure that question will have to be asked of the jurors. Do you listen to conservative talk radio, or do you watch Fox News? Because if you do, you can't avoid this Avenatti publicity.
And we'll take some phone calls on this. What do you think about this Michael Avenatti situation? 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call, 702-257-5396. Again, I asked people on the right and Trump supporters, if Trump was on trial for, I don't know, sexual assault, let's just say, would you want a bunch of liberals on that jury? Of course not. Same thing with Michael Avenatti. You don't want a bunch of MAGA hat right-wing Trump supporters on the jury either. You want independents. I think it's a pretty simple scenario. I don't think he is being treated fairly. And I think it has to do with a couple different things. He went after Trump for years, And I also think it has a lot to do with Nike. You cannot tell me that he is a detriment to society right now and he is a threat to society. You cannot convince me that. You just can't. I don't know whether he committed crimes or not. Never been convicted of a crime in his life, let alone in this situation. He's never been convicted of a crime in his life. That's very important. Very, very important.
You know, I don't wish those jail conditions on anybody, Brian. And I don't want to, make Michael out to be any kind of victim per se. But you think about, he is a very successful lawyer from L.A. And he has made a lot of money in his career, probably the right way, and has done a lot of good. And he's earned that money. And he is used to some very nice accommodations, hotels and resorts and whatnot. And can you imagine just sitting in that cell if you're him? But again, like to your point, he is a fighter. And he's, I believe, going to continue to fight through this trial.
Yep. All right. Number to call, 702-257-5396. Again, if you want to be a part of the program, 257-5396. Maybe you believe that Michael is getting what he deserves. I mean, I'll hear your argument. I probably won't agree with it, but I'll hear you out. Again, that number, 702-257-5396. Why don't we start off with Tim? Tim, thanks for calling in. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys had a chance to read the indictment, because he didn't earn a dime. He stole settlement money from a paraplegic. He deserves the worst conditions they can throw at him.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something, Tim, because I recognize your voice, and you have prank called me before. I absolutely recognize.
Yeah,
you have, because you're a loser. Tim, let me ask you. Okay, Tim, let me ask you a question. What kind? No, why don't you shut up and listen? Why don't you pot him down? Pot him down. This idiot on the phone has nothing better to do with his life than to prank call me because he is a Michael Avenatti hater, and he has nothing better to do with his life. Nothing better to do with his life than to prank call people and call Michael out. Listen to his voice. Listen to his squeaky.
See, and that's the guy you got to worry about being on the jury.
Hey, Tim, let's hear your stupid voice. Go ahead, Tim. Go ahead, Tim. Hey, Tim. Hey, Tim. Hey, Tim. Hi, I'm Tim. I don't have a life. I'm a Michael Avenatti hater, and I prank call radio shows because I'm a little weasel and I don't have a life. Screw you, Tim. Get off my show.
What is that, music?
You moron. 702-257.
He has pranked before.
Yeah, because he's a moron. He's one of those Michael Avenatti haters who has nothing better to do with his life to make him feel better. He sounds like a little 4-foot-tall weasel.
Well,
what do you think about
what has he got again? I don't understand.
Stupid
what
loser.
He's never met Michael Avenatti. What is he so angry about?
Because he doesn't have a life. He's a loser.
Can you imagine him being in the jury pool in New York? See, that's the thing. Yeah. That's what I'm scared of.
Yeah. I prank call you, Brian, and I'm going to continue to prank call you. Why don't you get a life, you freaking loser?
I got to write this number down.
Why don't you get laid? When was the last time you were actually with a woman or man? When was the last time you got laid? Why don't you get a life? These people, they have nothing better to do with their time than to prank call people. The guy's probably 40 years old living in his mom's basement, you stupid troll.
I appreciate it. Well, since JD's not here, I'll just I'll play the JD role. Thanks for the call, Tim. We really appreciate you listening.
257-5396. I believe we have Michael. Michael's next on the Vegas Take. Go ahead, Michael.
Hi, guys. Gotta love your trolls, huh?
What up, Michael?
Anyway, this is Michael, longtime listener. I call in frequently. I'm the one that's a veteran, retired law enforcement, done state and government.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just give you a perspective. I believe in integrity 110%. I am more Republican leaning. I did vote for Trump and all that. I don't care for Michael Avenatti. Regardless, Lady Justice is blind, and he should be treated as equal as everybody else.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, with that said, he doesn't deserve to be in his treatment. However, if I understood this correct, he did violate a term of his parole, thus he got arrested again. I'm not sure on the facts there. I could be wrong. Just throwing that out there for thought.
Mm-hmm.
But I do not believe that he should be treated like that. In some states, especially federal, they have white-collar prisons that he should be in. And I understand if they don't have that, they might have put him in solitary for his own self wellness, so he doesn't get hurt by
listen,
other
Michael.
people.
Michael, I hear what you're saying, my man, and I try to be fair and consistent on this show, and I'm trying to be fair when it comes to Michael Avenatti. I don't know if he committed a crime or not. Make no mistake about it. If he committed crimes, he needs to pay for it. And like I said, if you're going to go after the most powerful people in the world, you better not have any skeletons in your closet, Michael. But I think we agree on this. With white-collar crimes, and that's what we're learning here, does he really need to be in solitary confinement 24/7? Does he really need to be treated like a terrorist? I think we all could agree, if we're not biased, and you sound like a reasonable guy, he should be in the general population, and he should be able to talk to his attorneys more than he is able to. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, he's not a violent offender. He has no past of that. So therefore, he should be treated equal. And that's what pisses me off, unfortunately, and I'm saying this as someone from the law enforcement side, is that people, once you get into law enforcement, eventually over years, they develop an us versus them attitude. And so once you're in the system, they're going to treat you like, say, a scrote, like they might somebody who is a violent criminal. And that's totally improper and uncalled for, and unfortunately, it's out there.
Yeah.
This is well publicized, and unfortunately, doing this to Michael is not fair, but it is shining a light on injustices here that's going on.
No, Michael, very well said, and I appreciate your honesty. You sound like a reasonable guy. By the way, thank you for your service, if I haven't already said that, and I do appreciate your phone call, Michael. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure, brother.
All right, thank you. 2575, there's a reasonable guy, not a Michael Avenatti supporter, but let's be treated fair here. 702-257-5396.
He'd be a good juror.
Yeah, 257-5396. That's a good point. Let's go to Kurt. Kurt, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Yeah, I was hoping they'd put Michael back in general pop where he can be raped and killed.
Okay, thank you, Kurt. We appreciate the phone call. That's the same idiot.
That's constructive.
Yeah, that's the same idiot who called 5 minutes ago.
We have caller ID, Stephen.
Yes, we do. So please write down his number, and we will give that out.
That's how I know if they're repeat callers.
Yeah. Let's 257-5396.
They're sneaky, though. They're sneaky.
All right, I don't know who the names of the other callers are, but let's go to the 702 number. Why don't we do that? You're on the Vegas Take. I don't know who you are, but thank you for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning. This is Brian.
Yes, sir. No,
Brian.
This isn't Brian. This is Michael Avenatti.
Brian, I wish. hey, I look at Mr. Avenatti like Michael Flynn, and they shouldn't have had him. Some of these guys they locked up. It's ridiculous how they do it. They're not like terrorists. I agree with you.
Well, let me say this though, and that's, by the way, that's a fair analogy that you just made, sir. And I'm sorry, what's your name?
Yeah. Oh, this is John.
John, sorry, apologize. So John. I agree with what you just said, but here's the difference. Flynn was never in solitary confinement. Flynn was never in El Chapo's cell, right?
I can't remember which one it was. One of Trump's buddies, they had him all locked
Paul
up.
Manafort.
Oh, it was that other guy.
Paul Manafort. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yep.
They're treating him like a terrorist. It's comical.
I believe, well, hold on, that's a good point. I agree with you. If Paul Manafort was not Donald Trump's campaign manager at one time, I don't know if he would be in prison right now. I really don't.
I agree.
Yeah.
Total mistake even knowing the Orangeman.
You're right.
Hey, listen, on another note, I was laughing extremely hard with your interpretation of that caller. I couldn't even hardly drive.
Hi, I prank call people. I'm a Michael Avenatti hater.
That was almost like Butthead's cousin.
You know what?
Hey, Brian,
I have to deal with people like that every day, man.
Hey, one more comment.
Sure.
Hey, this is the true story here. They've been talking about pigeons lately. I don't want to get involved because I kind of consider them like rats too, but there's a pigeon out in Henderson, and it's got like a purple or pink condom tied around its ankle, tightly,
no way.
And it's just walking around. Well, I didn't want to get. I'm not going to get involved.
God!
People are doing some weird stuff out here.
Oh my
I just want to
God!
leave you with that.
That's awful. Well, I guess pigeons are pigeons.
They stretch and won't come off.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, pigeons are now practicing safe sex. That's it's
that pigeon. That pigeon could have picked it up somewhere. That pigeon could have gotten trapped around a condom somewhere.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. If there is a sick person out there that is, it's probably the guy who called in and talked like this. He's never put a condom on himself in his entire life. Whoever did that has never put a condom on himself and has only want to practice on what it feels like to put a condom on somebody else. That would be the guy who called in a few callers ago. Hey, now, man, I appreciate your call, man. Thank you. Thank you. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Talking about Michael Avenatti, and we're taking your phone calls here. Let's go to Seth. Seth, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Yeah. I can't believe anybody is defending Michael Slimeball Avenatti. After him and
what have I said to defend him? What have I said to defend him? What have I said?
That you don't like he's in solitary?
Here's what I am saying. First of all, if he committed a crime, he needs to pay for that. Explain to me. Okay, so explain to me this, Seth. Why is it that someone who's never been convicted of a crime before and has not been accused of any violent crimes, who doesn't have a record, these are white-collar crimes, why would you support him in 24/7 solitary confinement being treated like a terrorist? Please defend that.
It's not so much that I support; it's that I don't care.
Well, of course you don't care because you're a Trump supporter, right? Of course you don't care.
No, I'm an American supporter.
Okay, ask me. Okay, so answer this question. Answer this question. Excuse me. Answer the question.
Why don't you do a show?
Excuse me. Answer. No. Answer the question. Then we'll talk about Manafort. Answer the question. Then we'll do your stupid whataboutism. You voted for Donald Trump and you're a Republican, correct?
Absolutely.
Oh, what a shocker. Goodbye. I lied. See you later. I just proved that you're a moron. Okay, I just said that 5 minutes ago.
Did he say you're not an American?
Yeah, well, he's an idiot. You're not an American.
I don't care Republican or Democrat or whatever. Someone who's accused of a white-collar crime like Avenatti should not be being held in the same conditions as infamous drug lord El Chapo or Khalid Sheikh Mohammed or any of the other terrorists that plotted 9/11. I mean, it's just that's just you want to talk about American? The Constitution prevents cruel and unusual punishment, and I could argue that maybe this is unconstitutional.
Jason. I am so sick of people like Seth who call into a show and say, I don't care, when it comes to a guy that's accused, by the way, not convicted, accused of white-collar crimes, guilty or not, to be treated like a terrorist. And make no mistake about it. The only reason an idiot like that says something like that, we learned at the end of the phone call. You're a Trump supporter and you're a Republican. You don't like his politics. You don't like the fact that he's going after your boy. And Seth wears the Donald Trump knee pads every day. Every day.
And if you don't support Trump, you're not American.
And then we have a reasonable Republican that calls in, someone that actually has a brain, who is a real American, Seth. He just called in a few calls ago. He said, I'm a Republican and I'm not a Michael Avenatti supporter. But you know what else he said, Seth? Because he's not a biased hack like you. Here's what he said. He said, I want everyone to be treated fair and equal. He is not a repeat offender. He has never been convicted of a crime, and he does not deserve to be treated the way he's being treated. I respect people like that. Guess what, Seth? I have zero respect for you, just like your wife. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Jim. Jim, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Or husband.
Hey, about Michael Avenatti, I'm not a supporter of his, but I think maybe for one thing, white-collar crime can be as serious as any crime, and I'm not saying you should be put in confinement for that reason.
Yes.
But you look what Bernie Madoff did to so many people. That's white-collar, right? And my point is, he must have done something to get arrested, which I'm not saying he should be in solitary.
Yeah.
But what about if I think they probably are protecting him, but how many levels of protection cells do we need to have for someone who's been committed been arrested for a crime?
I agree, Jim. I agree, Jim. And you heard what I said a few calls ago with Paul Manafort. I don't think he'd be in jail right now if he wasn't Donald Trump's campaign manager.
It doesn't matter to me if Republican or Democrat. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And you're right.
But how many hotels can they set up?
Listen, Jim.
White collar.
I agree, Jim. You made a lot of great points there, and I agree with you. And I appreciate the phone call. Let's try to squeeze in one more here. Let's go to Lou. Lou, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian. Yeah, I was just wondering about the Avenatti thing. I'm not a supporter of him, but the whole thing is, why couldn't they put an ankle bracelet on him or something? Why
Good point.
Put him in solitary confinement?
I'll tell you. I'll give you one word and reason why. Nike. That's why, Lou. I think this is a $100 billion company, and I think Michael's gonna bring them down, and I think they're trying to shut him up. I really do, Lou. I really feel that way.
I understand he brought himself into the political forum.
Which he did, yeah. Yeah, he did.
But, to treat him that way, I just don't get it,
Yeah, Lou, listen, man, we see it the same way. I agree with you 150%, and point well taken, my friend. Let's try to take one more call. Let's go to Nikki. Nikki, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on, Nikki?
I was curious, what do you think about, how are they going to just not just put him in there? What are the chances of them doing it to everybody else if they can just put him in there for no reason?
Nikki, that's a valid point. I agree with you. I want everyone to be treated fairly. I think you're right.
They already use solitary confinement too much, and it's proven to cause mental illness as it is.
I think Michael's a strong guy. I think he's going to be okay. But Nikki, you bring up some very valid points. I would have no problem. I had no problem with them treating El Chapo like this. But Michael Avenatti is no El Chapo. I'm sure you would agree.
I agree.
El Chapo said he went nuts.
Yeah.
He wrote the same kind of letter that to the judge that Avenatti did, and said he's having hallucinations from being in there all the time. So
it's not fair.
And he's a hardened drug kingpin.
It's so amazing because you could take a phone call and in the first 5 seconds you could tell if they're biased or not. It's unbelievable. All right, everybody, we appreciate all the phone calls. We're going to continue to monitor this tomorrow, and hopefully we'll get some updates from the courtroom. We are going to take a 21-hour break. Me and Jason are headed to the AVN Expo. It's a tough job, but somebody has to do it. We'll be back in about 21 hours, folks. Maybe we'll see Sean Hannity there, but he's coming up next.